Okay, so just start with my introduction. Good morning to all. My name is Ravi Kumar, and about my experience, I have 11 years of experience in IT industry, where I do consulting, implementing, and administration of Microsoft and VMware product. In cloud services, I take care of Azure Active Directory administration and Azure administration and migration to Azure, Office 365 administration and migrating to Office 365 services. And in on-prem virtualization, I take care of VMware ESXi as well as Hyper-V. I do take care of Windows Server administration and any roles and services running on top of it. And also as a messaging, I take care of Exchange, right? So these are the services I manage. And about this course, wherein we'll be covering this AZ-104, which is an Azure administration training. So this course duration is for 30 hours, right? So wherein we'll be discussing complete AZ-104 content as per the Microsoft certification. So what all the topics we'll be covering here? So we'll be covering on overview of cloud computing, benefits of cloud computing, types of cloud computing, types of cloud services, what are the ways you manage Azure, and we'll be covering what are the types of subscription available and how do you create the subscription, how do you administer the subscription, and overview of the Azure Resource Manager, how do you manage your resources, what is Azure Resource Manager, and how do you create and manage your resource group in Azure. And also as a part of compute, we'll be looking like how do you deploy your virtual machine in cloud, and how do you automate your services deployment using the ARM template. Also, we'll be seeing about the Azure calculator. So whenever you get any requirement, if you want to know what will be the costing, with the help of calculator, we'll be seeing that. Also, we'll be seeing about the storage solution in cloud. So how do you consume your cloud to keep your data? So what are the ways you keep your data in cloud? And also Azure networking will be covering. So what is Azure, what is virtual network, and how do you create the virtual network in cloud? So when you create multiple networks, how do you connect each other to allow the traffic flow? We'll be seeing like how do you establish a secure private connection from your individual device to your Azure workload using the point to site VPN. How do you connect your on-prem infrastructure to Azure using the site to site VPN? So how do you host your application in a load balance using the Azure load balancer? And also we'll be seeing like how do you secure your traffic, right? So how do you control your incoming and outgoing traffic flow within your Azure network using the network security group? So with this, we'll be covering the core services, and also we'll be seeing like what will be the day-to-day task, right? So with respect to your Azure admin, like managing your virtual machine with respect to disk, network, and vertical scaling, and also like snapshot, what are the restore option with the snapshot, and how do you create your custom images in Azure, right? So these are the things we'll be learning in the general admin task. Also, we'll be seeing like how do you deploy your services in the cloud in a high availability mode using Azure availability set, availability zones. And also we'll be seeing the scale set, right? So how do you automate your horizontal scaling? We'll be seeing the scale set service. And also we'll be seeing two PaaS service, which is app service, which was earlier called as a web application. How do you deploy? How do you manage? And one more PaaS service, which is a SQL database. So how do you create the SQL database and how do you manage? And the next step is Azure AD. Okay. So what is Azure Active Directory as a part of identity and access management? And how do you manage, or how do you create and manage your users groups in the Azure AD? So how do you provide permission to your resources in Azure AD? And what is Azure AD Premium and what is Azure AD Premium features? How do you manage the custom domain and how do you configure and manage the multi-factor authentication? And also we'll be seeing like how do you integrate your on-prem Active Directory with Azure AD, right, using the AD Connect. So this will be covering as a part of identity and access management. And the next thing we'll be covering on the recovery services, right? How do you protect your on-premises data? How do you protect your Azure workload data using the recovery service vault? And we'll be covering on monitoring and troubleshooting, right? So these are the topics wherein it will be covered. And this will be a 30 hours content, and this will be 90% practical oriented. We'll try to understand the theory concept. Then we'll discuss about the service. I'll show you how to deploy the service. We'll be explaining that. And once the services are deployed, right, and I'll be assigning some tasks where you can perform, and also I'll be giving some real-time lab scenarios where you can practice from your side, right? So this is how the training runs. So if you have any questions on this, let me know. So now if you have a questions like so what are the learning path, right? So we'll cover that. Okay, so if you want to understand what is a learning track in Microsoft Azure, okay, Sandeep, you have to check your audio setting. So I think so only you are not getting the audio.
Yeah, hi Ravi. Please, can you difference between Azure Admin and Azure Synapse and Azure DevOps?
Yeah, that's what I'm covering now. Okay, so in the learning track, so we'll try to understand what all the learning options we have in Azure and how it differs, right? So this is what you're asking. Okay, so when you want to understand what is the learning path, right? So we'll try to understand this. So now if you want to learn on Microsoft Azure, right? So there are different tracks. So one is on administration, one is on development, one is on DevOps, and one is on networking, and one is on data science, right? So there are different tracks. So when we talk about the Azure, right? So the main two tracks we learn here is the Azure administration. Okay. So Azure administration means managing your infrastructure. Like what do you do in your on-prem, building up the server, storage, network, right? So this is the infrastructure. So AZ-104 is the Azure admin track we are learning in this course. Okay, AZ-104. And if you want to learn AZ-104, there is no prerequisite. Suppose if you have any questions, please unmute yourself and you can ask. If you don't have any questions, uh, please mute yourself. Anil, there is some background noise. I'll mute you. If you have any questions, please mute and you can ask me. Okay. All right. So now, when you talk about the learning path, right? So AZ-104, which talks about the Azure administration. So if you're looking to learn about the Azure admin, so then you can opt this AZ-104, and there is no prerequisite. So AZ-900 is a fundamentals one, right? So which talks about the Azure fundamentals, right? So completely theory part, it discuss about the what is a cloud, benefits of cloud, types of cloud services, what is Azure, what are the Azure services, it will be discussed in AZ-900. And this is an optional certification, right? So if you, it's not a mandatory to take the certification on AZ-900. Required, you can take, otherwise you can ignore it. So you can directly learn and you can take AZ-104. Okay, so which talks about the Azure administration. Suppose if you are from development background and if you want to learn or if you are interested in developing part, then AZ-204 is the course content for learning on Azure development. Okay, for this also there is no prerequisite. You can directly take AZ-204. Okay, so these are the two main tracks. One is for developing solution, which is AZ-204, and administration, which is AZ-104. And if you are interested as a DevOps, so what you can do, you can learn AZ-104 and you can learn AZ-400. Means AZ-104 plus AZ-400. With this, you can have a knowledge of Azure DevOps Engineer. Okay, or else you can also learn 204 plus AZ400. With this also you can achieve this Azure DevOps path, right? So these are the two learning tracks, and also for Azure DevOps, so this is one option. And the next level is the architect. So after doing 104, if you are interested in architect, so earlier we had a paper 300, 301. This is stopped long back, and there was a replacement with 303 and 304, which stopped this March. So now after completing 104, you can learn AZ 305. So this is a new paper which is introduced. So AZ 104 plus AZ 305, with this you can achieve Azure Solution Architect, right? So these are the learning path. If at all, if you are interested in security, you can learn AZ 500. Now also you can learn, or after completing 104 also you can learn. So this is AZ 500, which talks about the Azure security. Okay, so this are all the learning path in Azure. Any questions, any doubts on this? Yeah, any questions on this learning track? Let me know. Okay, we'll move to the next one. So now if you want to learn an Azure administration now, so what is the prerequisite? Or let's take example, I'm a fresher, I just graduated and I want to learn Azure admin. So can I learn it? Or is there any prerequisite? Okay, or you have a experience in Azure, sorry, you have a experience in administration. So is it a good start to start with Azure admin? Yes, means if you are a Windows admin, Linux admin, storage or network, right? So is it a good start? Yes, you can start with Azure admin. Suppose if you are from technical from a different domain, and if you want to start your career as a Azure admin, so is it a good start? Yes. If you are a fresher, or if you have experience in infrastructure, or if you don't have experience in infrastructure, or if you have a technical with different domain, or if you are from a non-technical background, Azure administration is a good start to understand. It's a good start to understand about the cloud infrastructure, how to create and build the resources in the cloud. Okay, but still there is a prerequisite. So here, wherein you should have some prerequisite knowledge. Suppose if you don't have, you can learn parallelly, because here we are not going to manage the infrastructure, right? So we are not going to manage the infrastructure like the physical data center or the physical hardware, right? So we're not going to manage such. So we'll be directly managing the services like the virtual machine or whatever, right? So here we are not going to manage the physical hardware issues or the hypervisor, and in some cases wherein we'll not be managing the server and the services as well. Okay, but still you should be having a knowledge of Windows and Linux administration, because we'll be creating the Windows and Linux machine, not on the expertise level, like logging in, connecting the machines, logging in, and basic troubleshooting. You should be having the knowledge. Okay, and also you should be knowing about the networking. You should be knowing about the virtualization. You should be knowing about some concepts like AD, DNS, VPN, encryption, backup, or disaster recovery, why we required, how that will help in our infrastructure to manage and do it. Because most of the time we'll be configuring the services in the cloud, so even we will not be managing the 100%, because it depends upon what is the type of service you do. Accordingly, what vendor has to take care and what you are going to take care will be managed accordingly. Okay, but still, as a prerequisite, you need to learn in the sense to manage in the services in the cloud. And not only you'll be managing the services in the cloud, sometime you'll be interacting with the on-prem guys. So whenever you're interacting with the on-prem engineers, so you should be having some knowledge about the networking, storage concept, virtualization concept, basics of Windows and Linux administration, right? And some other infrastructure configure like components like backup, restore, disaster recovery, right? So these are the prerequisites. So along with the course, you can plan and start learning on this as well. Yeah. Any questions on this prerequisite part? Okay, so now how our training will run, right? So basically we'll be discussing about the theory part we will discuss, then we'll be creating the service. So how do we create the service? So we'll be doing it in a real time in the sense we'll be creating a Azure account and we'll be creating the services there. So whatever you do in a real time, the same thing will be done on the lab as well. So now let's take an example like you want to create some Windows server, like you have some requirement to host an application. So for that, you require a Windows server. So wherein you required a server with 2 CPU, 8 GB RAM, okay, and you want this machine to be available in some part of US or any region, right? So you can create it. So I'll show you how to create the service, how to connect it. So with that, you'll get an idea like how the practicals will be run and also how the services will be created. So here we are trying to deploy an IaaS service, infrastructure as a service. So we are going to deploy a virtual machine. So here we are not managing the data center, we are not managing the hardware or anything. We put our requirement saying that I want this service on this configuration, and let's see how we can deploy it. So now I have a requirement to deploy a Windows Server 2016 with 2 CPU, 8 GB RAM, or whatever the hardware specification, and I want this machine to be available in east part of US, right? So this is the Azure portal. So this is how our lab will be running. So I'll be helping to create your accounts where you can practice your labs. So here I'll search for a virtual machine. So I can see the virtual machine console here, and I'll try to deploy the service here. So I'm going to create a new virtual machine. So here I'll say this is my demo lab. So I'll say this is my application one server, and I want this to be deployed in east part of US, and I want a Windows Server 2016, and I required some configuration like 2 CPU, 16 GB RAM, or 1 CPU, 8 GB RAM, whatever available configuration I'm going to choose. And I'm going to create a local account inside this machine to log in and access this machine. So when we are running our lab, we'll try to understand about the virtual machine part and how to create in the cloud. And we'll be seeing and explaining about each and every option here. And once that's explained, right, so we'll go through each and every option. So once we are done, so we'll be deploying the service. So now I'm deploying the service here. So this is how you'll be deploying the services. So that's why I told you, right? So here there is no expertise level required on virtualization, network, or storage, right? But still, you should have some basic knowledge to what you're trying to do or what is the requirement you want to understand, and you can deploy. And if at all, if you have expertise knowledge, well and good. Otherwise, if you want to learn more about the OS or virtualization or network storage, you can do that as well. Okay, so in cloud, whatever we create, we can call this as a software-defined data center, where everything you'll be managing through this portal, where you're not managing anything physical, like physical hardware or something. And this is an example of IaaS, wherein you'll be creating the PaaS service also, wherein that will be managed in a different way. So that will be understanding when we go to the module one. So now you can see a virtual machine is getting deployed. So you can see the server is ready. So now whatever the workload you run in the cloud now, so how do you access in your on-prem, right? So by taking the RDP, if it's a Windows machine, or taking the SSH if it's a Linux machine, right? So same way you can connect it. So here we'll see how we can connect and access this workload. Okay, so this machine will have an IP address. So currently I deployed with the public IP because I don't have a one-to-one connection. So later on we'll be seeing like how do you establish a secure private connection from your computer. So now this is a Windows machine. I'm trying to take RDP. So I open a Microsoft Remote Desktop application. So I type in the IP address of this machine. The password is already stored in this application, and I'm going to connect. So how you are going to connect your workload from your on-prem? The same way you'll be connecting to your Azure workload as well. No much difference. So from here onwards, right? So here you can see we have not touched their hardware, we have not touched their hypervisor, right? So we have just deployed the service and we put the requirement and the service is deployed. And from here onwards, whatever the application you want to install or configure or manage, you can do it accordingly. Okay, so this is how wherein you will be working on your requirements. Yeah, any questions, any doubts on this? Yeah, if you have any questions, any doubts, please let me know. So see, this is how you'll be deploying in a real time, and also we'll be covering some real time services like deploying your application on a load balance way, and also doing the auto scale in scale out, right? So all these are the real time scenarios what we'll be working on. Okay, if you have any questions, any doubts so far, please let me know.
Hi Ravi, am I audible?
Yeah, Vamshi, tell me.
Yeah. So as you said, the prerequisite is the Linux we need. So how much do we need? Like, is a basic of the Linux or some in-depth coding do we need to?
Okay, so here this is Azure administration, right? So here the coding is not required in the sense here we are not going to develop anything, but still the coding level is required in the sense like PowerShell administration and also the ARM automation coding means PowerShell we use to administer your workload, wherein you can make your work easier, right? So whenever you're doing a bulk operation and all, using the command line where you can perform it very easily, quickly. Okay. And suppose in the sense like when you say about the Linux administration or Windows administration, so here the OS level expertise is not required. Okay. So here we'll be creating the infrastructure and we'll be managing the infrastructure. Like if someone requests to deploy a Linux machine, we will deploy and we will give to him. So from there onwards, he will take care of installing his application or configuring his application or whatever. But what is the like you should be having a knowledge like how to connect the machine, and if you are not able to access this machine, why it's not able to access, in the sense whether is it related to connectivity or permissions, right? So you should be able to do some basic troubleshooting. So that's knowledge is required. Suppose if you want to learn more, you can learn. So I'm not stopping you there. Okay, it's totally up to you. But I mean to say there is no expertise level required here.
Okay, so
Suppose that
the basic command lines you mean to say we need to know the basic command lines. So are you going to
exact.
show us that how what will be the basic command lines? Are you going to give any scripted something, or do we need to do it by ourselves?
See here what will happen. This one, what do you say? We'll be learning of the PowerShell. Okay, PowerShell I'll learn. I'll take you the only the basics, and I'll be sharing some material you can learn. I'll learn on that. So that is used to manage your infrastructure only, not inside your OS. So we will not discuss anything inside your OS, right? So inside your OS or inside your infrastructure, we'll not discuss. So how do you manage your infrastructure? The basic PowerShell I'll teach you, the basics of PowerShell, and there's a documentation you can refer. And also as a part of automation, we'll be covering on the ARM template, like how do you want to deploy your services in an automated way. We'll be discussing with the overview of ARM templates.
Okay. And as you said, it's a 30 hours class, so it's a 6 days a week or 5 days a week.
Yeah, Monday to Friday, 1 hour a day. So in a week, we'll be covering 5 hours. So 6 to 7 weeks it will take the training to complete based on the lab and everything.
Okay, so by end of May, we will be finishing this.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So you can take 7 weeks time.
7 weeks from now on.
Yeah,
So the regular classes will be starting from Thursday, right?
that's right. That's right. So we'll be starting from Thursday.
7 to 8.
Exactly 17. That's right.
Okay. Can't we do it 6 days, Ravi? So it will finish quick early.
What will happen now? Here we have a lot of topics to cover. Okay. So
Okay.
if you want to cover 6 days, everyone are okay, then I can add up one more day. But what I suggest is like take that 1 hour a day or the weekend and do the practice, because when you see the content, we'll be covering all the services here. So when you say I'm a Linux admin, so I'll be taking care of only Linux. If I'm a Windows, I'll be taking care of only Windows. When it comes to cloud, you'll be taking many other things. Okay, so even I can deliver the training, but you should be able to digest that. In the sense here, uh, it's pretty straightforward here, right? So nothing much to deep dive here. So understand the theory concept, understand the dependencies, and what all you can achieve. Means what all the what do you say, prerequisites to deploy any services, and do the lab, right? So practice it. So with that, you'll be perfect on that. So weekends, 2 hours, you can take your time for your lab part.
And if you get stuck anywhere, do we get any support or something like, we will not be in a lab anymore?
I didn't get you. Can you come again?
If we are stuck somewhere, so there is no physical lab, so do we get any support kind of thing like, is any person will be there?
See, here, lab in a sense, you'll be managing through the browser itself. You just require a computer. There is no other physical hardware is required. But some scenario wherein it required, like if you want to do a on-prem migration and all, and if you want to set up your on-prem infrastructure, but still, most of the things we'll do it in the cloud itself. Okay, and suppose if you're stuck somewhere when you're doing the lab and it's very important, you want to discuss on the right away, you can message back, so we'll respond it on that time. Otherwise, if you are okay to discuss on the next class, like on the tomorrow session, we can discuss on that time as well.
Okay.
Any other doubt, any other questions?
Hi Ravi, will you provide the environment? How it is? Is it
Okay,
for
see,
practice
I'll be
purpose?
helping account, so the accounts will be created by your own.
Okay.
Okay, so now you can see
For
now
that,
I've created
for that actually
yes.
Azure is giving 200 hours free for that, for practice
Yeah,
purpose.
here you the free subscription, which is valid for 30 days,
Hmm.
right? So you'll be the same and you'll be practicing on it.
Yeah, while registering, it is asking credit card or some debit.
Yes, yes, yes. You have to provide a credit card, but nothing is going to
After
charge.
after 30 days, what we have to do? Again, we have to register again, or what is the process?
Yeah. So you'll be eligible to use only one time the free trial. Okay. Suppose if you want to create one more account, in the sense if you have already used, or if you are done with your what do you say 30 days, and if you want to explore more, then you have to create one more account using all these three different details. I'll be guiding you on that, don't worry.
Okay.
So we have a lot of things to discuss.
Already once I registered, that's why I'm asking.
Then you cannot use with the details. You have to use all three: card, mobile number, and your email ID.
Okay.
Another quick thing, Ravi. So in the market,
Uh-huh.
how much is the percentage of the opportunities between AWS and the Azure and the GCP?
See, when you talk about the cloud services adoption, no, AWS and Azure is the most commonly used and like most very widely used, right? And also, if your expert is in one cloud, you can manage other cloud also. The UI and the features may vary, but the concepts are same. When you say IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS, no, the concepts are same. When you see the job opportunities, yes, Azure is also having very good requirements. And also the Azure documents are pretty straightforward, right? So wherein if you have a knowledge, you can refer their documentation and you can do by your own. So that is the
Yes,
advantage of
most
Azure.
of us from the Windows thing, like even everyone is using the Android thing, so it's a pretty much user-friendly kind of thing.
That's right. So Azure is pretty straightforward. Even you have seen now, I just created a virtual machine. If you want
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
the
yeah.
same AWS, you can see the much slight difference. It's simple now, like how do you feel Linux and Windows?
Yes. Yes.
That's my opinion.
And this certification thing, is it AZ 900 is must to go before AZ 104, or we
No,
can
it's not.
directly go with the AZ 104?
Yes, exactly. You can directly take AZ 104. AZ 900 is just a optional one.
Okay.
Okay, you can
And
directly take 104.
okay. So are you providing any certification questions or mock certification kind of thing? Or is
Yeah,
it
see,
any is it
for certification,
available?
yeah, for certification part, you need not to worry. So the required guidance will be provided where you can clear your certification part. You need not to worry on that.
So any mock thing will be provided for that, or just a
So I have
theoretical
some
question?
questions so which you can go through it. So which will help you where you can clear your certification.
So no mock will be available.
I, I'll provide you the options. Don't worry. There are many things available in the internet. I'll guide you. Okay. And if at
Okay,
all, if
okay,
you need anything, I'll help you out. So don't worry about the
okay,
certifications. So most of them, like whoever has taken the certification, my students, now they have cleared their certification. So I'll
okay,
guide you the certification part. You need not to worry. Only thing, understand the theory concept, do the practicals, refer the dumps, and you can clear your certification. In the sense, like when you have this knowledge, like theory part, and if you have a practical knowledge, and if you know the dependencies, right? Then if you go to the
Hi,
dumps,
Ravi.
good knowledge, yeah, you can clear the certification.
okay. Thank you, Roy.
Yeah, hi, tell me. Yes, sure, tell me. Sir.
Hi, Ravi. Good morning.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hi, good morning.
Ravi. Actually, I have a quick question because we are the company like we are going to provide the solution integrators. Like we are going to provide the solutions. So recently, our management decided that they want to provide the solution on the like firewalls and like a cloud-based firewalls. But
Okay,
it's required some basic knowledge about Azure. That's why I'm planning to do this course. So I just
okay.
want to know the customer premises, how the cloud firewall is going to connect. Usually we used to deploy the hardware firewalls that we are going to keep it at the customer location and we are
That's
going to protect the complete network. Yeah. But
right.
again, if you go with the cloud based, how it's going to work? Because this is what my confuse all the time. Can you please explain to us?
Sure, definitely. See, in on-prem you have a physical hardware, right? So in cloud you'll have a virtual appliance. So what you do with the firewall, you'll be setting up a rule, right? Saying that if a traffic is coming from this source and if it is going to this destination, and if the source is this port number or the destination is this port number, allow the traffic, block the traffic, right? So you'll be performing it in your on-prem. So same way you'll be doing it in the cloud as well, where everything is a virtual appliance. So even in on-prem also we use this virtual firewalls, right? So like if you take the VMware NSX and all, right? So that also works as your on-prem only, which works like a virtual appliance in the sense. Earlier we used to have a physical server, right? So each device will be a physical server. Now we will have a virtual machines, right? So in a single hardware they'll be running multiple virtual instances. There also we'll be configuring multiple VLANs, will be mapping. All those things we'll do in our on-prem also. In cloud also you do the same. So everything you'll be managing via software, but again on a backend, whatever the hardware infrastructure is required, so it will be deployed there as well. And even you can see virtual appliance. So like, what are the firewall you have been using on-prem?
Fortinet firewall.
FortiGate, huh?
Yeah.
Fortinet, right? Yeah, you can see now the Fortinet firewall solution is available in the cloud as well.
Okay. So my question is that if the firewall is sitting in the cloud, what will be the connectivity? Because in on-premises, let's say I have an office in Dubai, so the customer, let's say, is planning to protect their network through cloud-based firewall. How is going to protect? Because what is the connectivity between the Dubai to the cloud? That's what my question.
See, yeah, what will happen now? In the sense, the cloud is your another data center. Okay.
Okay.
So here, when you have two offices, so I have an office in US, I have an office in India. So you want to establish a connection between them. So you're not going to lay a physical cable, right? So you'll be using over the internet, where you'll be building a private tunnel. In that, you will be configuring like which IP to allow and all those things, right? So same thing here also.
Yes.
Consider you want to spin some services for your organization or for your requirement. So now I'm running my business in India. So I want to expand my business in Australia. Okay. I don't have an office. I don't have a physical data center. So what I do, I go with Azure. So and I'll create my account and I'll deploy the service like network, the server, and all. So now I want to establish a connection from my on-prem to this cloud. So I'll be deploying a firewall. I'll be setting up a VPN tunnel between these two over the internet, right? So how do you establish the same way you'll be doing it here as well? Suppose if you say, I have an infrastructure in my Dubai and I want to deploy a firewall in cloud, which needs to be accessible to the customers. So in that case, what you need to do, you need to connect your on-prem to your Azure over the VPN, right? You have to build a
Oh,
tunnel.
that's correct. Yeah. Yes, now I understand.
Then you can build a firewall there. And your firewall in the cloud will be your entry and exit point for your infrastructure. Through that, you'll be coming to your office.
Okay, so which means whoever, yeah, which means whoever coming from outside, it's going to hit that my cloud-based firewall, and after that, it's going to reroute through VPN to my internal infrastructure. That's what you're trying to say. Is it correct? What I understood?
That's right. So if at all, if you want to use only the firewall service for your entry and exit point in the cloud, you can use it this way.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much.
Otherwise, usually what will happen, like I'm going to shut down my India office, right? So whatever the servers are there, still I require some servers. So either I can move it to a different, means I can migrate to a different physical data center in my environment, or I want to use a cloud solution there. So then I can move my infrastructure to cloud, and where you'll be building your network, and you'll be moving your servers, you'll be moving your data, and you'll be securing it with the firewall, and you'll be connecting your other office through the VPN, right? And it will be like your another data center in the cloud, what we can say. So that's why we call it as a software-defined data center. So here, it's the same thing. See, there is no difference. So in the sense, if you run, I just showed you creating a virtual machine. If you want to create a VM in your premises and the cloud, the architecture is same. Only the difference is what is your scope of administration and what is the vendor scope of administration. So your vendor is Microsoft, the customer is we. So accordingly, we'll be managing it. When you talk about the firewall, so you get the Microsoft Azure firewalls also. Or if you want to get a third-party firewalls, that is also available here as a virtual appliance. See, nowadays, even in on-prem also, we do the private cloud. No, like we will have a pool of physical hardware, pool of storage hardware, right? And using this, we will be building our own private cloud And also here, when you deploy multiple machines in your on-prem only, right? So running on a virtualization, you will have a virtual networking there, and you will have a firewall. Everything will be configured there, right? So the same thing in the cloud as well. No much difference.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's clear now.
And one more thing, Ravi, are we getting any? Are we getting this recorded videos, right?
Yeah, recordings will be available. So I think so it will be read only. You cannot download, but still it will be available for a good amount of time so that you can practice, you can be perfect on that.
Okay, okay, okay.
Ravi, what
Yes,
is the difference roles and responsibility? Windows admin and Azure admin, the job responsibility.
see, Windows admin basically will be managing the operating system, right? Or Windows Server OS. So when you see about the Azure admin, basically you'll be managing the complete infrastructure, the content what we discussed just now, right? Or if you take Azure admin, he will not be managing inside the OS unless until if something is required, we can help out. Otherwise, the Azure admin will not be supporting inside the OS or inside the storage or inside your networking, inside your infrastructure will not be supported. So you can take like a
Yeah.
data center here, right? So configuring your network, storage, compute, the data center engineer, right? He'll be managing only on the infrastructure part. Anything inside the OS, right? So that has to be taken care by the Windows admin, like installing any services, like clustering services, or Active Directory services, IaaS services. So that will be managed by the Windows admin.
All Windows admins are moving to Azure admin. That's why I'm asking.
See, that's what is going on, right? So see, IT is the same, right? In the sense, we should keep learning, and how the market moves will be moving accordingly, right? So we are scaling up, and nowadays, earlier we used to have a Windows admin only to manage Windows, a Linux admin only to manage Linux. Now it's not like that, right? So people are asking more technologies, like a single person managing more services. So when it comes to cloud, so here in the cloud, there is nothing much to do because we are not touching their hardware, we are not touching their hypervisor, right? So in some cases, we don't touch the operating system, and in some cases, we don't touch the application as well. Okay. So wherein the main goal of cloud adoption is cost saving. Okay. So now, even if the infrastructure is big, then they can have multiple administrator for managing only Azure, managing only Windows, managing only Linux. If less, then they will be expecting a single guy to manage everything, right? Yeah. So that is what we can say. And also, like, why people are moving from Windows or Linux to cloud, because the cloud adoption is more in each organization, right? So they want the engineers to be updated with the cloud technology. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? Any other doubts?
Timings, timings every day 9 to 10. How?
No, it will be 7 to 8.
Huh?
Morning 7 to 8.
Morning 7 to
Morning
8.
7 to 8. That's right. Yeah. Any other questions? Any other doubts? Okay. How about others? Any other questions? Any other doubts? Let me know.
Hi Ravi, this is Sai Kiran.
Yeah. Hi, Sai. Good morning.
Hi Ravi, good morning. Actually, I want to know about the jobs for a, if you do fresher, right? You'll get a jobs for freshers.
Yeah. See, when it comes to Azure administration, like even you can see level 1, level 2, level 3, and architect. So once the infrastructure is designed by architect, so L3 guy will be planning to deploy the services by assigning the task to level 2 engineers. And level 2 engineers will deploy the services and it will be up and running. So for everyday activity, we don't require a level 3 or level or architect, right? So the level 1 engineers, like whenever there is a requirement to deploy any services, the L1 guy will be managing it. and basic L1 administration, troubleshooting will be managed by the level 1 guy. And if something he cannot manage, wherein um, he will be escalating to the next level.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Ravi.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm thinking.
Okay, all right. Okay, so guys, please share your email ID and phone number if you have not shared, so that the materials and the recordings will be shared, and also the upcoming meeting details will be shared accordingly. If you don't provide, then we will not be able to get in touch with you. Please share your phone number and email ID. You can chat privately with the Visualpath admin. Okay. All right. So Santosh Kiran, right? So I can see you are in unmute, right? So I'm not getting your audio. Are you trying to say something? Yeah, I don't know. I think so. There's some issue with your mic, I guess. So if you're connected with a headphone or something, try to remove and talk. Let's see. Otherwise, please try to connect with from a different device. So you're already unmute.
Is it audible?
Yeah, now it's audible, Santosh. Tell me.
Yeah, sorry, actually, I think I have a problem with my headset. Ravi, actually, I have, around 10 years of experience in some other technology. So I just want to know, how much this course will help me in, getting a job in this field. Like, I'm completely new to this cloud technologies and Azure, like admin courses and everything. But because of my interest, I'm willing to join this course and get the job in this field. So, how much of experience we can put, once completing this course in total of 10 years of experience?
See, here's nothing much to do, right? So if you have a relevant experience like infrastructure background, so understand the theory concept and do the practicals. So see what all the dependencies, and also you can refer the dumps. So wherein it will have a scenario based, right? So that will help you to have more knowledge. So then you can think like you can put up to 3 years or 2 years, right? And you can crack the interview usually. But still, you have to put your efforts to learn, so that whenever you put some experience, it will be an value add where you can deliver the question, deliver the answer to the questions.
Okay, so will the course cover whatever the scenarios you discussed with others, right? So will this be covered while going through this course?
See, as I told you, the AZ104 is your baseline. So we'll be discussing about the base concepts, and we'll be seeing like how to deploy the services, what are the dependencies, right? As I mentioned, right? So there are a lot of things we'll be discussing in this training. So as and when you start working on a practicals, you'll be understanding more. So that will help you for your interviews. So what I can say is understand the concept, do the practicals, then you'll be good enough to deliver for your interviews.
Okay. So while going through course, we can learn a lot of things. You said, right? Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
for administration, right? So to manage your infrastructure, this is a baseline.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So if anyone is not shared your email ID, phone number, so I request you to share your phone number and email ID in the chat box. Please chat privately with Visualpath admin or to the organizer, so that we will be having your contact details to reach you back with the upcoming meeting ID and to share the materials. If you're not sharing, we will not have the details. Okay. All right. So any other questions, any other doubts, please let me know.
So tomorrow will be the same timing. Sorry, 7 to 8, right?
We'll be starting from Thursday.
Sorry.
Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, coming Thursday we'll be starting it.
Oh, okay. So there is no there are no more demos.
Demo only today class, no? Like,
Only one class. Okay.
so whatever the questions you have, you can discuss here, right? So we can cover it.
Fine.
All right. Any other doubt? Any other questions? Let me know. Okay. If anyone is not shared your contact details, please share your email ID and phone number. You can type the phone number and email ID in the chat box. So our coordinator will be in touch with you for the upcoming classes. Okay. So any questions, any doubt, guys, let me know. Otherwise, if you're good, we can wind up.
As of now, no, Ravi, from our end.
Okay, sure. No worries. If at all, if you have any questions, any doubts, so you can reach us and we'll be happy to help you.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate that. Have a great weekend. We'll connect back Thursday and we will discuss further.
Thanks a lot, Ravi. Thanks, sir. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Thank you, Ravi.
Yeah.
Bye, Ravi.